Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident Tinkerer and Medarotter, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet-fighting robot series. Now this week, my friends, is the week we've all been waiting for, the 2.0 update coming to Medarot S Unlimited Nova. And with that, they've also dropped another pair of gachas and a set of twins that a number of us have actually been looking forward to for a while. So for this reason, to celebrate Medarot S's 1.5 year anniversary and the introduction of the new twins seen here, I have named this week's episode Dark Knight Twins and Party Time. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. They first announced KBT-05F, Black Beetle, with this week's video, with a kit of missile, rifle, gatling, biped legs, and the ability of through shot. Now, to be quite honest, this already puts her in a much higher pedestal than KBT-05M, Saikachi's, who has the leg ability of gunman. The reason for that is because the ability through shot gives Black Beetle the chance to ignore enemy defense and even shields when attacking. So even though her overall power may not be super strong, she's definitely going to make every hit count with that ability in mind. With that, with a leg ability of about 784, she's also clocking some pretty good overall speed. Armor is relatively par for the course with females for the most part, so nothing really there overall that stands out. Her meta change, however, is where she really spices things up. Now, the only thing that really changed between her robot mode and her vehicle mode is that she exchanges missile for hyper missile, which instead of it being an all-part AoE becomes a piercing damage type part. But she also exchanges her legs and leg ability from biped and through shot for tank legs and the leg ability of aim. Now, with this, I'd say this is honestly kind of a flip over of which one is honestly better than the other, because tank legs are generally not very well recommended or used often, especially with them having no particular evade stat at all, despite having B rank on all terrains. But Black Beetle definitely makes it work, because she first of all is clocking a speed of 803, so even though she's considered a tank leg, she's going to be keeping up to speed with even faster opponents on the field. So she's going to have that. She's going to have the overall resistance and the speed to go with it. Her kit overall stays the same, maybe just a little bit of a power boost. The leg ability of aim simply passively buffs the success of shooting skills equipped, so she's going to get a boost to her likelihood of landing hits and critical hits. And just taking a moment to look at it between her robot mode and her vehicle mode, she's already got some wickedly impressive success stats with 1128 for the head, 1401 for the arm, 986, nearly 1,000 for the left arm as well, just in robot mode alone. And then when she changes into tank mode, it goes up to 1231, nearly 1700, and nearly 1300. So even though her kit will remain largely the same between robot and tank mode, she definitely is getting that extra success boost, which means she's going to make every hit land, and every hit is going to for sure count. Now, alongside with Black Beetle, we also got her twin and counterpart, Black Stag, with a kit of stat cleanse, sword, hammer, biped legs, and the ability of through fight. Now, unlike Black Beetle, who actually stands a little higher than Saikachi's in terms of kit overall, Black Stag takes a moment to kind of stand out on her own, even though she does kind of stand on equal tier with Dorkas, which is her male counterpart. Stat cleanse instead of radar sight is a very welcome change, because to be quite honest, stat cleanse parts are always openly welcome for that chance to keep ailments off your tail, and to keep them from getting into your strategies and throwing you off. Sword and hammer, honestly, can't really complain too much with conventional attacks. Pretty solid base power at the 1310 for the sword and the 1483 for the hammer. Leg mobility at 725 also leaves her in a pretty solid spot. Evade stat over 1,000, which is also very nice. Overall armor, she's a little more fragile than Black Beetle, so she's going to be a little squishy on the field if you don't pay close attention to her. But she makes up for it quite well with her ability of meta change as well, where she changes her kit for plant clear instead of stat cleanse, which allows her to remove any positive or beneficial plants that are affecting your opponents on the field, such as charge plant, heater plant. She can remove those to negate the effects. Like Black Beetle, she also maintains sword and hammer in both robot mode and in change mode, where she changes into a flight-based vehicle with a mobility of 919, which honestly, for flight legs, is about par for the course. But honestly, with flight legs and the high mobility, you still can generally never go wrong with it. Evade stat of over 2,000, that's also very, very impressive. Leg ability also changes from through fight to straight, which simply buffs the success of melee skills. So more or less, again, kind of a counterpart to Black Beetle in that case. Success rate on her in robot mode, I'd say it's just a little bit lower actually than it is in robot mode, because she has the 1480 for her sword in comparison to 1200 for her sword in robot mode to vehicle mode. They go up just a little bit, and the extra success will definitely help, but overall I'd say she performs about the same either way, depending on which way you need her, if you need stat cleanse or plant clear. I'd say plant clear is just a little more niche than stat cleanse, but still with a high speed of 919, she's going to be zooming back and forth across the field, which makes her very easy to use and very reliable, both as a conventional fighter and as a potential nuker using conventional parts. In addition to this week, they also announced a rerun for Saikachi's, which is Black Beetle's counterpart, with a kit of missile, rifle, gatling, biped legs, and the ability of gunman, which passively buffs heat stat of all equipped shooting parts. So much like Black Beetle in tank mode, Saikachi's going to get that natural and passive buff to his success stat, which means he's more likely to land hits even if his attacks aren't as powerful. In meta change mode, however, he exchanges Rifle and Gatling for Crossfire Set and Crossfire Release, which means he can trade his conventional kit in for a 2-turn powerful nuke attack. Takes a little bit of time to charge, of course, with it being 2-turn, where you have to first set it and then release it on turn 2. But that, honestly, with the kind of damage it's capable of doing, I'd say it's very easily forgivable. With a leg ability changing from biped to vehicle, he also changes his ability to abscond, which passively buffs his cooldown of shooting skills. So he'll already be getting a pretty massive speed boost going from biped to wheel, but that extra boost to his cooldown means he's going to be zooming back and forth, very quickly setting that crossfire set when he needs it, and then releasing it just as fast whenever he's ready to launch that nuke. In addition to Saikachi's, we also got his counterpart in Black Stag's counterpart, Dorkas, with a kit of radar sight, sword, hammer, biped legs, and the B-loader ability. Now, arguably between Saikachi's and Dorkas, I'd say Dorkas is arguably the more reliable and balanced of the two. Radar sight, sword, and hammer is really nothing new to any particular Kuwagata type in general, but it's the ability of B-loader that honestly stands out with him the most, which buffs his evade stat relative to his Metaforce charge. So even though he himself, as a conventional kit, does not have any parts that require Metaforce charge, he's also someone who would actually benefit from it, which means he's more likely to graze or outright evade attacks as he's fighting and using the conventional methods. In change of this, he also can meta change into a multi-ped form and exchange his kit over almost entirely for sword, for hammer, anti-air, and anti-sea, with a leg ability of breakneck. Now, like I said, Dorkas is arguably the more reliable and conventional of the two, and you'll probably see a much better and overall use of him on the field in extended fights than you might see with Saikachi's, especially given the fact that he has both anti-air and anti-sea in the same kit. This means, in addition, that while he can fight on his own pretty conventionally and pretty well balanced, that when he changes into multi-ped mode and gets anti-air and anti-sea, he suddenly is now the biggest threat on the field to even the high-speed bots like Crimson King or Infinitus as an example. And given the fact that they also all have pierce damage, means all he needs is one turn to utterly cripple either of them very easily. In addition to this, he also has Breakneck as a leg ability when in change mode, which means it passively buffs his heat stat. So that means overall he's going to be zooming back and forth across the field, especially going to the line to prep for his next move. So unlike Saikachi's, who runs faster when he's cooling down, Dorkas is going to speed up when he's running to the line. So definitely recommend looking into all 4 of these bots for gachas this week. All of them have some form of a kit that is very highly anticipated or very easily used, both as conventional fighters or as nukers. Black Beetle and Black Stag for sure if you're looking for conventional shooting or melee parts for females. Saikachi's or Dorkas if you're looking for good conventional parts for males, or especially if you need ones that are capable of meta change for sure. This week, they also announced this week's Fierce Battles, which honestly are kind of lower tier this week. So definitely don't put a lot of time into farming them too much, but there's still a good part or two to farm out of them. And the first one they had for this week was the Manta Ray type Flat Stake with a kit of Triple Virus, Sea Legs, and the leg ability of Acrobatics. Now, much like most other Fierce Battles that we may see, or even gacha models that we pull that have a kit of all the same part, like for instance Kanabun, his overall viability is going to be kind of hurting because all of them are the exact same skill, but that also means that you can make much more easy use of him as mixed parts. In addition, the sea legs also give him pretty decent mobility on most terrains. Naturally high evade stat also helps. It also benefits him in particular because the acrobatics leg ability passively buffs his evade stat even higher. So he's already going to be a pain in the neck on the field trying to land a solid hit on, because he's going to be either grazing or dodging outright most attacks pretty much naturally and passively. In terms of viability, I'd probably rate him about a 4 or 5 out of 10. Not to say that he's particularly bad or useless, but having the triple kit of virus does kind of hurt his overall viability or use as a pure set or as mixed parts. As mixed parts, for sure, you could probably make use of something, especially if you need him for a good ailment fighter, but as a pure set, probably not so much. The next Fierce Battle that comes up after him is Libra, the Zodiac type, with a kit of Gunpowder Guard, Anti-Air, Anti-Sea, Float Legs, and the leg ability of Primacy. Now, another returnee that we've seen once before when the Story Mode Arc 3 with Medarot Navi was introduced. It's always nice to see another one on the field. However, her kit, unfortunately, is kind of mixed on the lower end of the spectrum. Anti-Air and Anti-Sea as dominant skills kind of puts her on the same tier as Float Spinner that we saw this last week, where her kit is very niche overall. However, I'd say she's in an even worse spot than Float Spinner, however, because of her head, which is Gunpowder Guard, which basically means she's going to intercept all forms of attack, but if it's a gunpowder-based move, such as Missile or Hyper Missile or Napalm, she's going to negate it. So it's handy for maybe those situations, but in most any other situation, it is not recommended to make use of that kind of head, or a shield head in general at all, if it's not Perfect Guard, Shoot Guard, or Melee Guard. She does have a little bit of a saving grace, though, with her leg ability of Primacy, which reduces damage from incoming enemies if they share the same leg type. So this is kind of a conditional damage reduction, kind of like Fortress, but at the same time, Float Leg is relatively easy to find matches for on both competitive or even in regular fights. So if in the case you absolutely need a Float Leg with this, and you face off against another Float Leg, you will get a little bit of a damage reduction. But otherwise, in terms of her overall viability, I'd honestly say she rates about a 2 or a 3 out of 10. She's just not really all that handy. The Anti-Air and the Anti-Sea is honestly good to have, just for the sake of having them. But there are definitely other bots that have it and make better use of it, especially not as a main kit like Libra or Float Spinner does. If you were to use them at all, I'd say, especially on someone like Dorkas who has them as change modes, it'd be a lot easier to use them on him than, say, Libra. And the last Fierce Battle that we have for this week is Makachi Mach 2, or as the anime watchers and OG game players know him as Octoclam, with a kit of Triple Hold, Multi-Legs, and the leg ability of Mariner. Now, kind of like in the same boat as Flat Stake, because he has a triple kit of the exact same skill, his overall viability is going to be hurting just a little bit, but his multi-legs will always be that saving grace for him, especially with the ability of Mariner, which grants him S rank to sea terrain. And just to touch on that briefly, multi-legs arguably are the next best all-round leg that you can equip that are not bipedal. In addition to that, sea-based terrains in particular are an absolute pain in the neck to try to match for, because if you're not using sea legs at all, you're going to have at least a B rank, even with the flight leg, and float leg only gets an A rank because it has that balance on all terrains. The biped legs in particular are especially terrible, which makes using them very, very difficult with balancing, especially trying to not get nuked by an anti-sea user on a sea-based terrain. But Makachi Mach 2 definitely takes that and works it to his advantage with being a multi-leg, but with the Mariner ability for that extra bonus. So in terms of viability, I'd probably say he's the MVP for this week at maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10, and definitely worth farming the most if you're not doing anything else this week. But overall, farm all 3 of them if you're missing parts, but if you need to farm one of them in particular, go for Makachi Mach 2, legs in particular. Now this week also, they highlighted the 1.5 year update anniversary and update with a special event challenge and super row battle to claim special rewards. This event will be ticket based, so simply equipping a part. You don't even have to use the full set, but use a part of the highlighted sets to get extra tickets that you can use toward buying more of the rewards. You can also use highlighted Medarot to get an additional ticket in the case that you can't seem to perfectly match the +4 or the +2 as easily. They also announced a special 1-day login for the anniversary of 30 rubies, which is a free 10 pull. So if you want your shot at Black Beetle, Black Stag, Saikachis, or Dorkas, this is your chance. Unfortunately, because it is a 30 rubies, you will have to choose wisely of the 4 of who you really want the most. Out of who definitely ranks higher than the others, I'd say they're all about on equal tier. I'd argue that Black Stag and Dorkas are probably going to be the MVPs out of the 2 of them, but in terms of who you want the most or who is the most viable, that is honestly more of a personal discretion kind of thing. In addition to the 1.5 year update, they also announced a recap on the 2.0 updates that are going live, so I'm going to just go ahead and recap them briefly. The first of which was the Bop and Beats update, where you can change your row battle theme, your home theme, and your announcement, and your row battle announcer while on the field. If you have any particular favorites, please do put them down in the comments below. Personally, my particular favorite battle themes that I've heard is Like Free from Medarot 5 or Days of Typhoon from Medarot Navi. So I'm looking forward maybe to seeing Days of Typhoon since we have heard that one on here before. But maybe hearing a remix of Like 3, fingers crossed, would be nice. They also announced currently there is a Twitter contest going on that will grant an additional music track, Evil Spirit from Medarot 3. If a certain number of retweets are met before the contest ends. So take a look at their Twitter if you get the chance to look at more details on that contest, so that we can unlock that extra BGM when this update goes live. In addition, the other recap that they touched on was the Row Battle Pass subscription. That was touched on briefly last week, but just to go over the details of that again, it is a 1,500 yen price for a total of 30 days of bonus, which translates to about $15, maybe $16 US United States. The pass contains 3 free EX energy refills, full energy refills per day, 1 free additional ruby per day, bonus drops on daily dungeons and resources. You have an exclusive Battle Pass gacha you have permission towards to use to pick up some extra parts. You get a ×2 bonus on resource dungeons and drops, and ×3 during events. So if you plan on picking up that subscription, this is your chance to do it to make the most of those bonuses and that extra drop, so you can farm the event materials so much faster. In addition to this, you also get a 10% EXP bonus when completing levels or story mode. You also get all resource dungeons open to you permanently for the duration of the Row Battle Pass. Now, if you decide that you want to try the pass and you want to maintain it for longer than a month and so on, you also get extra rewards, which includes a color chip set, 100 blue and 5 red upgrade chips to use on parts, and a 3-star deluxe gacha ticket. On top of that, they also announced last week, and just to touch on it, a free 1-week trial of the Row Battle Pass. So if you decide you want to try it, especially during the event to get a hold of those extra bonuses, you are more than welcome to do so, and they won't dock anything or ask you for any particular cost. But after that 1 week is over, it's going to be up to you if you want to maintain any of the extra bonuses or perks that come with the Row Battle Pass. I'm personally planning to pick it up myself just to see how it is, but arguably for the kind of rewards that it offers, I'd honestly say the $15 for the month is well worth the price, but I'd say it's honestly more of a personal preference than anything else. If you do plan on picking up, do let me know what you think of these perks, or if you plan to do the 1 week pass and 1 week trial and call it a day, feel free to drop that in the comments as well. Tell me what you think, and we can kind of take a look at it from there and see what the overall consensus is. Aside from that, any other news we have this week, just touching base on it again, we are looking for translators for the Medarot Reloaded manga or the Medarot 3 translation. So if you have any knowledge in Japanese, coding, or cleaning, and you have some time on your hands you'd like to donate, we are more than welcome to any particular contributions that you might be willing to offer. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can get you in touch with the right people that can bring you up to speed on what's been going on. Aside from that, I'd say that about covers everything for this week. So we have a huge update coming this week with the 2.0 update. Lots of fun perks, a couple old faces that we've been looking forward to seeing for a while. So definitely looking forward to seeing all that when it drops. If you'd like to know more, you can follow us below at the Medarot News Network page or the Metabots Forever community on Facebook. You can also join us on Discord at the link provided, and it will be provided in the links in the comments below. You can also follow me on Twitter at Isagami Kura if you have any questions or suggestions for me, or feedback just in general of things you might like to see or want to see more often. Or on this channel, like maybe a personal review and my personal thoughts on each Medarot broken down, maybe some breakdowns and mechanics. Whatever you feel that you'd like to see on the channel, please, by all means, reach out to me. I am more than open to feedback, because quite personally, this channel is my way of giving back to the community. I might be a moderator of the Discord and run the Facebook page as well, but honestly, this is my way of giving back, because at the end of the day, we're all Metarotters with the same goal of trying to raise more awareness for the community and keeping the love for it strong. So if you have any feedback or comments, feel free to leave it for me, either on my Twitter or in the comments below. And with that being said, thank you again for stopping by, folks. Always happy to have you in for a visit. Until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.